Hi guys, it's Sarah from Sarah's Texture Crafts. How are you? It is, I think it's June the 2nd of 2014 and I am in my craft room. I'm wearing my recently finished walking fawn hat. The pattern is it's actually a full hat pattern by Tiny Owl Knits. You can find that on Ravelry, and she's got a book out which I will link to in the show notes. Just thought I would have a bit of fun with you. I'm going to take that off. So how are you? Like I say, it's June. I can't believe we are 6 months into this year, and apologies, I'm going to look a mess now. It's very wet outside, so hence the sort of yellowish light. I've had to turn the light on. The last time I had to turn the light on while I was podcasting with you was probably December or January. So I'm a bit bummed today that it's quite dark, but we're here anyway and we're going to podcast. So I guess I probably ought to introduce myself if I haven't already. My name is Sarah. I'm from sarastexturecrafts.com and this is the podcast Dreaming in Fibre. You can find the show notes for this podcast at dreaminginfibre.blogspot.com or .blogspot.co.uk depending on where you are in the world. So let's get into it. I thought today I would start off by giving you a bit of a shop update. I'm going to look at my show notes, which are just below the camera there. Then I'm going to talk about some patterns and then we're going to go on to crafting. First of all, before I start any of that, last month you'll notice I did 2 separate podcasts. I did one which talked about sort of shop updates, which was the later one, and then the first one was all about Wonderwall Wales. That actually went quite well, having 2 podcasts in the month. People tended sort of seemed to respond to that much better. I would love to say that was something I would be able to do going forward, but I'll be absolutely honest with you, once a month is probably about all I can manage. If I can do an extra one, or it makes sense to split up a shop update from a show and do it like that, then of course I will. So we'll see how we go. I don't know if I have any plans to sort of do that regularly or certain months throughout the year, but you know, we'll see how it goes, and I will announce podcast to podcast if I think there's going to be an extra one. So let's start with some shop news. So we're talking about sarastexturecrafts.com, where you can find all of my lovely fluff and yarn. I just closed today, actually, a bit late, the Yarn Club and Fibre Club. I think it was Yarn Club 5 and... No, sorry, Yarn Club 1 and Fibre Club 5. Had a fantastic response to those, and they were all actually sold out by the time I came to close them, so thank you very much if you booked your spot. For those of you who didn't watch previous podcasts or who aren't familiar with my yarn and fibre clubs, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what they are and a little bit of a heads up for the next sign-ups. So essentially they run as 3-month drops, and you can choose within that whether you want a specific fibre bases, single dips or double dips. Double dips meaning you get 2 lots instead of 1, and you basically pick and choose which option you want, and you know, pay for. Each of those clubs receives a unique colourway that is inspired by things that I'm doing at that moment in time, colours from nature, sort of inspired by what's around me really, or what's going on in my head at that point in time. And previously they've been very well received, and we have spin-alongs and knit-alongs in Ravelry that sort of coincide with those. This year was the first yarn club, and I will definitely be doing that again. There was a nice uptake on that. The overwhelming response to that was people wanted the fingering option rather than double knit, Aran and so on. So what I'm going to do for Yarn Club 2, which is going to open up in August, I'm going to stick to fingering weights, and you will be able to choose a single dip or double dip, but those fingering weights will vary drop to drop, so you'll get different bases, so you're getting, you know, plenty of variety in what you're sort of ordering. So as I say, forthcoming clubs, Fibre Club 6 and Yarn Club 2, will open August the 1st. Those listings are actually live on sarastexturecrafts.com at the moment. You can't add them to your cart, so you can't purchase a spot until they officially open in August. But what you can do is you can drop your email into the email box on the individual listing, and that basically acts as an alert system. So the moment I put those into stock in August and those spots go live, you'll get an email notifying you that that spot is live, and you can then come and you know, pay for your spot. I've started doing things that way, just so it gives me a nice indication of how many people are looking to buy from the next club. It also gives you an opportunity to, you know, sort of book that into your calendar so that you don't forget, because I've had people in the past who've sort of wanted me to run mailing lists for different clubs so that I, you know, let people know, and that's quite a tricky thing to do. So I think this alert system works better, because what I don't want to do is start sending out emails randomly to people, you know, sort of in the hope that they want to buy again and things like that, because that, I think, would be considered as spam. I would rather you sign up to the notifications you want to receive from me. So those are the forthcoming clubs, so look out for those. Certainly put your emails in the alert system, and I will get those alerts to you the moment they open in August. But generally I'm going to be dyeing up this week for the current club's first shipment, which will go out next week. I've decided on 2 of the 3 colours already, and I have 2 colours in mind and pretty much sorted for those forthcoming clubs that open in August. So I'm really pleased with that. Had a really fantastic sort of dye experiment session, and was really pleased to get some of those colours hammered out. Sorry, I'm going to move a bit. Today I am on the floor of my craft room, so I'm just going to pause a minute. Okay, so having moved, also the light has probably changed. It's become a bit more yellow because it's very dark, grey and rainy outside. Not what you really want in June, but hey, you can't have everything in life, eh? So we talked about clubs. I wanted to sort of move on from there and just sort of, I guess, talk through with you a bit about the direction in which I am planning to take Sara's Texture Crafts in the next 1 to 2 years. It's not hugely different from where I am now, so don't suddenly think I'm going to start making cakes or anything like that. But it is, and it will probably inform you as to why I'm having a bit of a sale on the website. Over the last couple of years, I have really taken the time to expand my product and work into new areas of the wool industry, woolcraft industry if you like. So I went from supplying mostly needle felters now to wet felters as well, to spinners, to weavers, to knitters and crocheters. Over the last 2 years, what has shown from my sales records and also from my research in terms of trends, from what my customers are asking me and from what they seem to be buying from my competitors, is that actually my customers are now mostly spinners who also knit, also weave, maybe do a bit of felting and so on, but they're mostly spinners. So this kind of makes a lot more sense for me now to take a step back, look at what I'm doing and consider having a bit of a sale to get rid of stock of items that are no longer selling for me in the way that they were maybe 1-2 years ago. So you will find a lot of needle felting equipment. So if you're interested in stocking up on needles, foam pads, clover felting tools, then pop over to sarastexturecrafts.com and have a look at the sales section, and you will find a plethora of offer there. I'm going to sell them as close to cost price as I can, not only to give you the best deal, but also to hopefully get rid of those as quickly as possible. It's not that I don't want to or don't have interest in needle felting. You've seen my little guy, and I'm going to just move the camera here up there. Do you remember him? And I do still do lots of that kind of thing. But I'm not really getting as many customers in that area as I once was, so it kind of makes sense to sort of rein that in a bit, if you like. And you know, if the trend changes, I can always rev it up because I still have those contacts. It's just that, I mean, for example, if I talk about the needles, the order that I have to put down as a minimum is £1,000, so that's an awful lot of stock to have. If they then don't sell, that's £1,000 I've got sat in terms of money, but also shelf space that I can't then, you know, make use of for other product that sells much more quickly. So I think for now I'm going to scale back on that side of things and work towards giving you a lot of new choice of colours. I mean, if you remember me saying at Wonderwall Wales, I had a whole heap of new colours. I probably had 20 to 30 new colourways, not only on fibre but on yarn and in bats as well, maybe 40 colourways even that were new, and those all did really well. As a consequence of having so much of that kind of stock, I didn't actually have my needle felting stuff out as I normally would. The interesting thing was I only had one person ask me if I had any needles to sell, and that just kind of said everything I needed to know about the direction in which customers kind of see me progressing, as well as the direction in which I would like to progress, you know. So do come and check that out. It's not a huge amount of stock or a huge number of lines, but it just means that it will free up cash flow for a small business, and also space for a small business, so that I can start giving you a lot more of the product that you do want. So if you are a needle felter or into needle felting, then come and check those offers out. They are pretty good. The next thing I wanted to talk about, which is also sort of coincidental to the sale, the last month I've been having weekly updates. Every Thursday before 5 p.m, sarastexturecrafts.com will have X amount of new product on, and I advertise that on my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and on my blog. So, you know, sign up to one of those places if you want the weekly update. Otherwise, the monthly newsletter from sarastexturecrafts.com will sort of give you an indication of all that's been updated, and, you know, up and coming things as well. That seems to have worked quite nicely for me. I'm going to try and keep that momentum up going forward. Obviously there will be months where that's difficult to do. For example, my September and October, well, July, September, October show months are absolute killers. I have back-to-back shows, so that might not be possible to do weekly updates. I might go back to a monthly update just for those months, but the in-between months I would like to have a weekly update, even if it's going to just mean that I put up a custom listing of one colourway. I would talk about that a bit more in the next podcast, because I don't think I'm quite at the stage where I'm ready to release those custom order slots yet, but that's coming. It is also all of these changes for me are really exciting, because actually it means that I am in a place where I'm able to be much more creative in the day job, rather than relying on some of my commercial things. It means that I'm dabbling with new dyes, with new techniques. I'm looking at buying new pieces of equipment which will allow me to dye different techniques and use different processes to be able to introduce colours to you. And that for me is hugely exciting. That is what the day job is all about. And I'm really thankful to be in this position where I'm able to do that for you. So big thank you to you, because it's you guys who've really got behind me and helped sort of funnel me into this direction. And so yeah, I couldn't be more happy, so thank you. And please keep giving me your input and buying as you do. It's fantastic, really, and really important for my little business, so thank you. What else did I want to say? There were a couple of up and coming things that I wanted to talk about, but I'm just probably at this stage going to give you a bit of a hint about those, as well as the new Fibre clubs that are coming in August. This month I'm going to have some new colourways on tops and on yarns, and I'm also going to have a couple of kits. I don't think actually at this point it's worth going into a huge amount of detail for those. If I do a secondary podcast, then I will talk about those and feature those as the main sort of topic. What I really wanted to talk about, and I'm looking at my show notes, and I'm probably going to move around a bit because, as I said, I'm on the floor of my craft room today. The reason for that being is that the stool that I normally use to sit on has become a little bit wobbly with old age, and so I don't want to be falling flat on my bum halfway through the podcast. I mean, it will give us all a bit of a giggle, but after falling down the stairs in December, I think I could do Darren the honour of not falling down and hurting myself this month. That would be good. So I'm not going to sit on that, I'm going to sit on the floor. But when you get to an age, sitting on the floor is not good. It becomes uncomfortable. So what I actually probably need to do in my whips is make myself some woolen poofs or cushions, and make this a bit of a kind of Moroccan scene behind you, with all lovely cushions and throws and things that I've made and crafted. And so I can sit on those like little bean bags and podcast nice and comfy from there. Moving on, let's talk about some free stuff that I have put together for you to sort of thank you for help pushing me into this new direction of Sara's Texture Crafts. And these are in form of patterns and a tutorial series. So I'm going to start with the patterns first. This first one is a jar cozy. It's a quick and easy craft that you can, the pattern is knitted, but you could take the idea and sew something or weave something or so on. I'm going to insert a picture here. I made this jar cozy for my mum to house her Mother's Day flowers in. I used scrap yarn, and I just really wanted to make something that was quick and easy, and to give it away as a pattern, just to sort of help use up some of those scraps, but just an inspiration for a different way of presenting flowers. Or I don't know, maybe you could work on that and use it as a way of covering up a fancy box of chocolates with some yarn or something. I just thought it's a fun little, I think the whole thing probably took me like an hour to do. A fun little thing to do that could be a nice way to present something that you've bought for somebody and show a little bit of care, a little detail. So that's free for you. You can find that on my Ravelry page or on the blog, Crafts of Texture. The second one just going to reach behind me here, sorry, are my simple fingerless mitts. Popping them on here. Eee. There we go. These are knit from my sparkle sock yarn on Colour Harlequin. That's a 3-colour variegated dye. It actually knit to my stitch count, fitting me almost gave you a stripe, which was quite nice. Obviously changing up the stitch count would vary the way the colours knit, and you might get pooling, so that's always something to consider. But you can use any 4-ply fingering weight. I use sock yarn just because it gives that little bit of nylon, gives a nice little bit of fit around the wrist, and also a little bit of stretch all the way up the arm. Mine comes to mid forearm length, and is perfect for undercoats and so on. Again, this is a free pattern. You're not obliged to use my yarn, but I have plenty of colourways. So if you want to come across to sarastexturecrafts.com, buy yourself a skein of lovely something, then by all means please do. I have semi-solid colourways, some of which you can see there in my little stash, and also I have plenty of variegated colourways as well, so something for everybody, and that's free for you. You can find that on Ravelry, as I said, and Crafts of Texture, which is my blog. I will link all of that in the show notes below this. The other one, I'm going to insert a picture here rather than showing you the product. This is a pattern which is £1.50 on Ravelry or on the website Sara's Texture Crafts. It's called the Festival Hat. Festival Head, I should say. So I'm going to insert that picture here. And as you can see, it's really a way of concealing your camping hairdo. In other words, if you haven't been able to wash your hair for a couple of days and you're away at a festival, this is a nice cover up. It's also one of those things that I might wear going into fall and winter, like either around the house just to keep my head warm, or while I'm walking the dog if it's particularly windy or something, just to keep the old barnet under control. And it's again a really simple knit. For the actual pattern I used colours denim and peacock. That's not a brilliant likeness there. The peacock is slightly more of a green blue than that, but with the old rain outside, that's the best I can do, I'm afraid, folks. But there you go. So it's a nice project that will make use of either scrap yarn, new skeins of 4-ply yarn, fingering weight, or you can use what am I trying to say here? You could use a commercial quite easily. Something with a bit of nylon would be great, but this is 100% wool that I used here. What else do I need to tell you about it? It might look great in mini skeins actually. If you've got a collection of little mini skeins, it would look great in variegated as well as 2 separate colours striped, or as one colour depending on what you fancy. Also, if you've got dreads, if you wear dreads, then it's a great way to keep those guys under control, and you know, sort of keep your head warm at the same time. So that's £1.50 on the site. The other thing I wanted to discuss was printables. These are free, and these are on the blog, so Crafts of Texture. I will again link to those in the show notes below. But they're basically yarn tags, so you've got all the information you need to write for either your hand spun or your own personal hand dyed, or something that you've bought that the yarn ball tag has sort of been ruined and you want to pretty up your yarn stash, or you either want to gift your skein of yarn. Those are free for you, as I say. I'll link to that in the show notes. I plan to do a lot more of these with different sort of imagery and themes, and I may even go as far to do a yarn ball band as well, but those will all be free on the blog for you. The other free thing that I'm doing, so I'm going to grab those because I'm going to talk about those in spinning. The other free thing that I'm doing is I'm also doing a set of tutorials, and these are going to be in a specific series. The first series I'm starting out on is how to spin gradient fibre to make a gradient yarn. There are many different ways that you can do this, and I thought it would be interesting to explore what you could do with maybe a pre-dyed gradient that you get from an indie dyer. As it's something that I've just started doing, it kind of seems appropriate to do that now. But it's also something that as a spinner and as a seller I do get asked about. So there are going to be a whole series of posts. I think the third one has been released now. I will link to that again in the show notes, but you can find that over on the blog. If you're a newsletter member, you will get the link to that within the newsletter as well, so don't worry too much if you can't find it in the show notes. These will culminate in a special something at the end of the series. I'm not going to give too much more than that away at this point. The other thing I did want to say about the series was that there might be some breaks within the series. In other words, I might not say, for example, there might be 20 episodes of it. I might not post all 20 episodes at regular intervals. There may be breaks within that, and that's purely to cover my show schedule. To give you an idea, let's move on to show schedules. And for this, I'm going to use my app, which is the Google Calendar, purely because that actually links to the little show calendar, which is at the top of my website, sarastexturecrafts.com. From the 21st of this month, I will be doing a series of shows, so let me quickly talk through those with you. The 21st of June, I will be at the Somerset Weavers, Spinners and Dyers Guild for their Fleece Day. That's open to everybody. And on the 12th, I'll be at the Devon Guild. Again, that's open to everybody. The 19th and 20th of July is still to be confirmed, but that will be a local Devon show. The 26th and 27th of July will be Fibre East. August at the moment is free. It's so not free because these next set of shows are going to absolutely kill me. So August, I'm going to be dyeing, carding, producing, just go, go, go. I really need a big kick up my bum for August. So if you see me before August, just give me a hug and tell me you got to get through it, girl. September the 5th to the 7th, I shall be at Bristol Wool Fair. That's a new show. I'm hoping it will be spectacular. It's seeing as we haven't had a Fibre Fest down here in Devon for a while, this is probably the closest show we're going to have to sort of replacing that, if you like. So I'm hoping that will be a particularly good event. It's over 3 days, so if you are in the area, please check out the show. At the end of the month, I'm doing the rather expensive to show at Stitch, Sew and Hobbycrafts at West Point in Exeter. That is the September version of the Craft for Crafters I've been doing for the last couple of years in January. I'm hoping that will be a good show. I'm investing a lot of money into it. It's about 3 times the price of showing in January, so it is a massive investment. I've gone for a slightly smaller stall just to curb some of that expense. But if you are in the area, please come. Please come. And that's my begging. But it's a 4-day show, so I'm really going to have to get lots of stock together for that. Then in October, I have 2 shows booked so far. The 11th and the 12th, I will be at Woolly Weekend, which is Kelly House. That's here in Devon. And on the 25th, I will be at a closed AGM event for one of the embroiderers guilds. the beginning of the month I may possibly have another show. That's up in the air at the moment. It was a show that was is usually in August, but I've heard that it's changing to October. Now I've heard that via word of mouth of other people. I've not heard it from show organisers, so I don't know whether that means the show organisers are looking for something very specific and I maybe don't fit that bill this year, or it might be that it's too far away for them to think about sending out information yet. So we shall see. That may or may not happen. If it does, of course, I will let you know here on the show. Again, if you're a newsletter subscriber, you'll get a list of events right at the bottom of the newsletter. So that's kind of it for news, shop updates, shows, all that kind of thing. So let's move on to a bit of personal crafting. This month I have mostly been spinning and knitting. The spinning has been geared towards the craft along that I'm having over on Ravelry, which is still open. It's an impromptu summer craft along that will encompass my kind of group's effort towards Tour de Fleece as well. So there are no prizes and no specific sort of goals in mind. The only thing I ask is that you are crafting from product that you've bought from myself at sarastexturecrafts.com. You can use any medium to use your wool or your yarn in. It just needs to be something that's recognisably Sara's Texture Crafts. So I've started off by spinning, and I've spun 3 braids. This is Dartmouth, and I got 191 metres from 108 grams, and it's generally a DK weight. This is a merino superwash, and I love the way it came out. I may end up knitting this for somebody else because I don't think it's strictly my colourway. I've got quite an olivey skin tone that you can't really see in this poor light today, but I don't know that this would be particularly good against my skin, even though I absolutely adore it as a yarn and a colourway combination. The second skein is from my Rolags in colour Oslo. I got 247 metres this time, and this is between a 4-ply and a DK, and a total of 92 grams, so better yardage on that one. I do actually think that spinning from bats and Rolags gives me a finer yarn than if I spin from tops, so that might be something I do, or I might draft my tops into pencil roving in future if I'm after that finer yarn. But I like that, and that's probably something I would wear next to my skin. I'm thinking actually I knit a swatch, not from this yarn but just from a spindle spun version of this yarn. I'm thinking I might make some winter mitts, possibly using my simple knit pattern. So if I do, I'll let you know how that goes. But love the way that came out. And then finally finished up is my marshmallow cookie. This is a blend for sale in the shop at sarastexturecrafts.com. It contains Blueface Leicester, Merino, Silk and Baby Llama. It is super soft. It's 223 metres, 96 grams, and it's a 4-ply to fingering. You might be able to see there. Oh yeah, you can see there. The Baby Llama does give it a slight halo. I don't mind that. I think that's going to be really nice to wear. Also, what I was thinking for this yarn in terms of knitting it up was that I might spin either Blueface Leicester in a dark brown or oatmeal colour, or the merino in that sort of slightly pinky colour. And I might use that as edging, so if I knit a shawl, this would be the main body, and then that more solid colour would be the edging, where I probably do some sort of lace patterning, and that I thought could be really quite nice. Love it. It's super soft, and it was really easy to draft as well. So if you haven't got hold of your 100-gram batch of that, then I urge you to come over to sarastexturecrafts.com and grab it. It is a limited edition blend, and it's lovely. It's lovely stuff. It's £11, I think, so an absolute bargain for the quantity and quality of product that you are receiving. I do have a couple of other things that I've finished spinning. They are on my skein winder, and I will show you those next time once I've set them, because I like to sort of batch everything together and set it all at once to save water. But what I do have to show you are, you might remember this from about 4 podcasts ago, where I talked about a merino silk blend that I had hand dyed in my colour Bohemia. I think it was 250 grams. This is 100 grams on each bobbin, so I've got 50 grams of that more to spin. That's kind of an ongoing spin. I wanted to spin it up quite quickly, but I kind of got a little bit bored of it. It wasn't the fibre, it wasn't the colour. I think it was just purely my brain wanted to do 101 other things, and so doing basically what would be a 500-gram spin and then ply, because I'm going to ply it against this beautiful grey Ryland, I think was just all a bit too much, and what I wanted was lots of hits of colour. So I swapped it out and started spinning those guys up there. So I'm coming back to that and doing fits and starts over that, but I've got no sort of deadline for that, so that's fine. That's kind of it for spinning. I wanted to show you knitting. I'm going to show you my John Arbon cardie next week. I've finished that for my mum. Fits really well. She was going to crochet down the front for me, because I'm in no way near confident enough to do that yet myself, and it was just to finish that sort of button band placket, if you like. From what I understand, she's finished that, so when I see her next, I'll take some photographs and I'll talk you through that in the next podcast. But I will show you in the meantime are my monochrome socks. These are for Darren. So these are UK size 10. They came out quite different, each one, but that's okay, that's fine. I did get a little bit of holes there, but I think I'm sort of overstretching still. And I seem to, I think, yeah, I'm getting it on both sides. I'm thinking the only way to get around that is the way I'm twisting the yarn while I'm doing that that whole heel turn. If you've got any ideas of the way I need to twist them to get rid of that, then let me know. But other than that, I'm really happy with them. Darren likes them. He's desperate for me to finish showing you guys and give them to him. I've got plenty of that yarn left. What I was actually using was Drops Fable print. It's roughly about £2.20, £2.30 a ball. I wouldn't say it was the best sock yarn in the world. I think price is relative there. But it's okay if you're a beginner. It's okay if you're also trying to get a stash of socks together as well. I would think it's perfectly fine to gift socks from it, but I would say it's not my favourite. The wool is quite haloed, in other words it's quite fuzzy. I think it will peel quite quickly. I think it might not be the softest to wear underfoot, and I also think the polyamide instead of nylon is definitely cheaper, but I think it therefore is, I think after a while it's not going to have the same relaxed and sorry, I've got a message on my phone, and stretch possibilities that you get with a good nylon. So I think price is relative in that instance. If you consider that an indie dye, I mean, my cheapest sock yarn, which is good high twist, high quality stuff, starts at £12.50, and that's a reasonably inexpensive sock yarn price for that quality of yarn. the sort of market average for that is probably closer to £15–16. So I think price is relative in that instance. But you know, there are knitters on a budget. I've bought some because I you know, I've got that much left, and I want to have a good amount of stash just to start me off, and then I can replace it with the higher quality stuff as I go. So there's a place for that yarn, and of course it's not just made for socks. 4-ply is great for plenty of other projects. So don't let my own wool snobbery, if you like, turn you off. I am coincidentally knitting some more of that, and I put the project bag down, and for the life of me I can't find it. Like, I really can't find it. I when I took that pause earlier, I popped downstairs because I got a phone call and I had to do a couple of other bits before I came back up, and now I'm back up here and I haven't got a clue where I've put it. And I also wanted to show you the project bag because that was also new. So I might have a hunt for that in a second, but that's coming up quite nicely, and that'll be a pair of socks for my mum, so that's on the needles currently. And then the only other thing I have to talk about is my full jacket, which is going to be on the needles hopefully this week. So I'm going to insert a picture here. And that's for the yarn that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use my wool superwash Aran base in colours Fall Leaves, graduating to Cranberry, graduating to Wood. So in the order from left to right that you saw in the picture. I'm probably going to utilise the same gilet jacket, gilet cardi pattern that I have been utilising for the John Arbon cardi that I'm going to show you, but also the tourmaline cardi that I spoke to you probably about 2-3 podcasts ago. I've got a little swatch here which might remind you in those colours. The pattern was free, and as I've said, as I've you know, been knitting each one, it's such a versatile pattern that I think you could come up with plenty of different ways of working it. So I don't think you can say I haven't got my money's worth from that, even if it's free. It's a fantastic pattern. I will link again to that in the show notes below. But I was thinking of starting Fall Leaves at the top, then I might go into a 3/4 sleeve with cranberry at the end of that. There will be cranberry on the body that will go down into the wood, and I think that will be quite a nice colour combo and easier to wear against my skin. Not expecting it to be a super long jacket, but it would just be quite nice just to give me a little bit of a cover up and something easy to throw on throughout the sort of early autumn, certainly. I'm going to pause here and see if I can find that other project, and I will get back to you. So I might be some time. It'll only be seconds for you, but it might be some time. Let's hope I can find it. I'll see you in a second. Okay, so the upshot of it is that I totally shouldn't be allowed out on my own today. The project I was looking for was right here. It was under my nose. Oh my god. So again, I'm using up my stash of that Drops Fable yarn, and this is in the guacamole colourway. So I'm sorry you can't see the colours perfectly, but I will show you a finished picture next time and you'll be able to get a better idea of those colorations. But it's knitting up fine, colours are lovely. That will be a pair of socks for my mum, because she particularly liked that colourway when we were yarn shopping, so I thought, well, at that price I really can't say no, can I? The other thing I was going to show you was my really cute little Star Trek Enterprise project bag. This was made for me by Jasmine Saint Laurent, and she is on Etsy. I'll give you her details there. So I think she's making project bags to help her pay off her student loans, which, why not? That's a good cause, I think, for a purchase. And I was in the market for another little project bag, so I got this one, and I also got a Star Wars one. The Star Wars one isn't with me at the moment because I'm just about to use that for a new project, and Patch is coming. So do we get a quick hello? Patch, look, come and sit here. Come and sit down with Mummy. Come on. There's a good girl. You going to say hello? Hello. 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 Oh, God. You're just a terror. You're a terror. A terror, terror. I was just going to knock the camera and everything now. Have you eaten your dinner? Did you eat it? Was it nice? You good girl, aren't you? You had to have your flea tablet today, didn't you? And you don't like that. I can't use spot on flea treatments for old Patchy Poos here because she's got such a sensitive skin. I'm not sure whether that's sensitive skin from having been in the kennels or something that she caught while she was a stray. I don't know, but yeah, she has very sensitive skin, so we have to watch what we put on it. So no spot-ons because they burn her skin. First time I did it, I wasn't sure what was wrong with her because, I mean, whilst I've had dogs, lived with dogs before, she's the first dog that we've actually owned. So, you're right there, doggy. You're right there. So, you know, all of these things, having to do them, you know, yourself was actually quite new to both myself and Darren. Off she trots. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just because it's wet that she's sort of trying to get to it. And then the second time she did it, we put it on, she was really scared and ran away from us and just really wasn't happy about the whole thing at all. And this went on probably for about 2 hours afterwards, and of course there was nothing we could do because we couldn't wash it off. And she wouldn't let us near her. In fact, she ran and found the darkest, tightest corner that we could not get in to get her, which was in between some boxes. And I just thought, well, I've just got to leave her and let her come out on her own, because the more I sort of rush in after her, the more frightened she's going to get for the next time we have to do it. And so it wasn't until I was stroking her much later in the day, and actually the next day, I noticed that she had blistered where I'd put the spot on and had scabbed up, and that was all across her back, because with the spot-ons now you don't just put them on the back of the neck, you have to put them in several spots along the back so you've got an even coverage. We then tried about 2 or 3 other flea treatments, bless her, and they all had the same effect, and the vet just said, you know, the only way we can do this is now to give her an oral treatment, but they're much stronger because they have to get through the whole body and then get to the skin. So it's, whilst they're good flea treatments, they're going to be very strong, so the possibility of a lot of different side effects, one of which is a lot of vomiting and diarrhea. And so really upsetting, the whole idea of having to give her these. But she's actually much better on these. She's only been sick a couple of times, and of course they don't get better necessarily every time. She can be just as sick every time, or she could have a reaction one time that she didn't have a previous time. It's just the nature of how strong these tablets are. So gave her that today, rewarded her with some cheese, which she loves. But I've got to the point now with tablets, because she was ill over the winter, where I have to force them down her throat because she won't take them. She used to take them like they were treats. But now she won't, so it's a bit of a battle trying to get them in her. But we got there in the end today. I probably ended up with most of the tablet on my hands, so I'm now flea proof, hopefully. But yeah, bless her. She's lying down, she's waiting for me. She's just had dinner, and it means that Daddy's going to be home soon so that we can go for a walk. I won't say the trigger word, which begins with N. But what I will do instead is show you a Patchy moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off for this podcast, and I will speak to you next time. In the meantime, please wait and hold for your patchy moment. So yeah, that's it really. I will see you next time. It's been great chatting to you, and you can find me at sarastexturecrafts.com or on all the social medias at Sarah's Texture Crafts or some version of that name, or find me on Ravelry in the Sarah's Texture Crafts group and come and spin along with us, knit along with us, weave along with us, whatever it is that floats your boat. Come along and chat about wool with us, and it would be great to spend some time with you this month. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this show. I look forward to bringing you the next episode, and I'll catch you soon, guys. Until then, keep dreaming in fibre. Bye.
Drop it. Got this one. What's this? Is that? Drop that one. Drop it. Drop. Good go. Ready? Oh, it's your favourite. Ready? Ready? Watch. What's this? Somewhere in the distance.
Yeah, if you can see her, she's somewhere in the distance over there. There she comes, but she takes the longest walk back. Here she comes.
Come on in. Come on. Totally ignore her.
Yeah.
Drop it then.
And then you have to fight her for the ball. Well trained, this dog. Isn't he, Patch? Okay, let's go home and get a biscuit then.
Yeah, biscuit. Time for a biscuit.